Morning Majority on 630.
7:07 on the Morning Majority. Brian Neiman, Jonah Goldberg, National Review. And this morning, also with the L.A. Times, Fox News contributor, wrote an interesting piece in the L.A. Times that comes out today. Is that out this morning?
That's right, yeah.
That we will get into coming up about feminism throughout the world, especially in the Middle East, and how that is playing out. Andrew Breitbart will join us at 8:06. About an hour from now, we'll talk to the founder of Big Government, Big Hollywood, Big Journalism, all those things. Larry Kudlow from CNBC, latest on the economy, what to expect, especially after the president's speech last night. Talk with Larry at 8:36. Pleased to be joined now by Virginia Congressman Scott RIGELL from Virginia Beach. Congressman RIGELL, good to have you back on the program.
Well, good to be back, Brian. Thank you so much. Shona, good to be on the show with you as well, sir.
Thank you.
I know you went to Pakistan and Afghanistan. We'll get to that in a second, but I'm sure you watched the president's speech last night.
Yes, I did.
So want to get your take on your thoughts on what he said. Did he make the case, do you think?
Well, my concern about this entire matter well precedes what the president said and what President Obama has done. It really goes back to just the overall the authority, the legitimacy of a president using the American force without consulting Congress. And that's where I've really focused in on, is just dialing it back. We can talk about the strategy, certainly, but I'd also like for us to talk about just the whole process of how American forces were introduced into combat.
He brought that up last night. I'll play the soundbite of him talking about Congress's role in all of this, and then I want to get your reaction to it.
9 days ago, after consulting the bipartisan leadership of Congress, I authorized military action to stop the killing and enforce UN Security Council Resolution 1973.
All right, bipartisan leadership of Congress. Is that enough?
No, it's not good enough. I really don't think. I think it's flawed constitutionally, and I also think it's unwise. I truly believe that. I think that that for the president to be able to apply American forces in that way, I think it really constitutes. If you look at the action that was taken, to me, it merited a full resolution by the full Congress. That's been my view of this, and I'm just glad that it's starting now to get some traction. But I don't think he got into that part of it nearly enough to address my concern.
You're a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Is there any recourse that you can have in Congress as far as?
Well, I think we can get together with my colleagues, and I want to do this in a thoughtful, deliberative way. But we do need to bring this, I believe, to the floor, and talk about the process how we got here. I think what's happened is we have drifted. I think President Obama truly believed that what he was doing was proper and correct. But the key here, I think, is there was no imminent threat, no present threat to American lives or American interest. He certainly had the time. If you think about it, he had the time to go to the United Nations, not exactly a fast-paced body. He felt the need to go there for approval, yet he did not feel the need to come to a full, to bring Congress together. I wish he would have exercise his constitutional duty to call us into session.
All right, well, let me ask you a different question then. Are you supportive of what's going on? I mean, do you think that we should be enforcing the no-fly zone, essentially, at war, kinetic military activity,
right,
whatever you want to call it?
Well,
are you supportive of what we're doing in Libya right now?
Well,
is it the right move?
I'm certainly supportive of the men and women who are there. I have the great privilege of representing Virginia's 2nd Congressional District. So many military assets and people are stationed there, highest concentration. I stand shoulder to shoulder with them. They've done an outstanding job. I do believe that we should have applied much more pressure through the Arab League. They've got the capacity to do this. Now, they may or may not have the will, but they have the capacity to do this. And I know it's easy to second-guess the president, but I had this position from the very start that we should have pressed the Arab League to do more because, as you mentioned, I just got back from Islamabad, Pakistan, and also from Afghanistan, and the resentment toward American people and our interest in Pakistan is acute, and it's growing. And I think by intervening again, it just builds distrust there.
Congressman, it's Jonah over here. I'd like to come back to this constitutional thing for just one more second, if we can. John Yoo, formerly with the Bush Department, a legal scholar, he makes the case that presidents can pretty much do whatever the heck they want in terms of military force, and if Congress doesn't like it, they can cut funding for it.
Well, I do respectfully disagree with that. I think that, if I woke up this morning and I'd gotten on the show and you said, Congressman RIGELL, have you seen the president had to attack this this group over here because they were, he had information that they were going to launch some nuclear device somewhere in an American city, I would be the first person to support that. We can't always go through Congress. I fully understand that. I think the president has that duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to protect the American people. But that's not the case here, evidenced by the fact that he went through the United Nations. So that's the distinction in my view, it's the timing of this.
I agree with your criticism, political and constitutional, but it seems to me, as Brian was getting to, there's no remedy for it unless Congress does something about it. We've been arguing about the War Powers Resolution and what presidents can and can't do since I was
73
in preschool, and the only way you solve it is by actually doing something different, other than to have more hearings about how we need to have more hearings.
Well, here's the needle that I think we need to thread. I think we need to have a resolution, and I'm just one of 435, of course, but I think we need to have a resolution which is I think instructive to the president on the process, and I don't say that in a patronizing way there, but I think it needs to be instructive regarding the will of Congress and concerning the process. And then also, I do think we need to be absolutely supportive of our troops. It's a noble endeavor, in as much as we're trying to save lives and all of that. It's a separate discussion. To me, it's very hard to separate the two, but it must be done. We separate the constitutional process of how we got here, and then second, we talk about the actual strategy now that we're fully engaged.
Hey, if I could ask you just about the mood among Republicans on the Hill, is the sense of the way in which both Biden and Obama had said such strident things about the constitutional prerogatives of Congress when it comes to war and all the rest, and Biden said that he would move to impeach Bush if he did something like this and all the rest. Is the hypocrisy issue working its way through the Republicans? Is there ill will based on that front?
Well, I really haven't detected any ill will or anything that's I guess mean-spirited or using this for any political gain. I just think it's a deep constitutional issue. I really found it amusing. I woke up the next day after I had issued some of my comments on this, basically saying there was no imminent threat to American lives, and I was really pushing back, and I think I was one of the earlier ones, not the earliest, but one of the earlier Republicans to really come out and say, hey, there's a constitutional issue here. And I found myself here with, kind of Dennis Kucinich and Barney Frank and others, and I'm going, wow, this is an interesting political mix here.
It's like the Star Wars cantina.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't let you go without asking you about the budget. There's reports in the media that, hey, there was almost a deal being made between the Republican leadership and the Democrats on a budget moving forward, but a lot of people in the Tea Party wing of the Republican Party are saying, no, we can't do this, we need more cuts, and now there's a stalemate. Where do you see the budget negotiations right now?
Listen, I'm a businessman turned elected official. I really don't have a legislative background. So, quite frankly, I don't understand why we're not in session. I've called for this. I really think that we are in a fiscal budgetary crisis, and I think your calendar reflects your priorities. So that's why I think, we should have been, even last week in our break, I think we should have been in session, even if, just to say symbolically, we're here. We recognize this is a crisis because, I'm going to be presented with a deal shortly here that I didn't have any influence over. And I just think that I don't really like the way Washington works, and I don't think it's healthy. Frankly, I think that
you don't have to be in session for deals to be made in Washington. I mean, isn't that the truth?
Certainly. But my point is that if you truly believe that this is a fiscal crisis,
right,
I think we need to be physically present here and just stay in session. And I think the president should. I don't think he should have gone on his trip to Brazil. Of course, that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
But that's the emphasis to me is staying here, doing what we must do, and dealing with it now with the full Congress. It's just difficult for. I'll be presented with some numbers here shortly that I don't think the full House had a lot to say about.
All right, Congressman, good to have you on the show as always. We appreciate